What's up, everyone? What is happening? Okay, for this video, I'm going to step outside of the realm of politics for a second and not rant about how much I dislike the left. This time, I'm going to engage a little bit in the occult. Now, I recently had a conversation about why I don't believe in ghosts. I'm not a big fan of the belief of ghosts and spirits and demons and stuff of that nature. I don't believe anything. I believe that we live in a natural universe. Anything outside of that natural universe obviously is supernatural. That's why it is outside of the natural universe, making it supernatural. So I tend to believe everything that's within the realm of our reality. This is how I base at least what I believe and what I perceive to be, real. I live, at least I like to think I live in an objective reality. So as far as ghosts, I don't believe ghosts are real. I don't hold any beliefs in anything that is again, supernatural and stuff like that. I don't believe in in the religions and a higher power and spirits and stuff like this and hauntings. I'm a big fan of it, but I just don't believe it to be true. Now, I love the occult, by the way. I love all of it. I think it's so cool, so interesting. Halloween is my favorite time of year. I used to watch all those ghost hunting channels and everything, all those shows, and I used to love them. I still do. I like them. It's fun. I would definitely go out with someone and go ghost hunting. It's something I've always wanted to do because it's just something cool to do. It's something cool and it's fun, right? I wouldn't be there to judge anyone, but I'll be there and have a good time and have a good laugh with everyone. I think it is a very interesting thing. I just don't believe it to be true. Now, why wouldn't I believe in these ghosts? Why don't you believe in ghosts? This is, people ask me all the time when I have this conversation, when someone mentions ghosts, I'm like, I don't believe. Okay, well, let's start with number one. My opinion, the strongest evidence for ghosts is eyewitness accounts. That's it. People just saying what they saw, they're sharing their experience, which literally anyone can do. You could just tell me anything you want to say. Maybe you're telling me, maybe you're being truthful and you're telling me what you believe you saw, but so many people are not truthful and they are lying. They are lying about their experience. I don't know who's lying or who's telling the truth, so they all have to go into the same basket for me, and I have to say I just can't believe anyone off of what they're telling me. Now, some people I know so many people that are very credible people, very honest people. They're not clowns. They don't play around. They don't have a history of doing or saying stupid things, and they tell me their stories, what they experience. And just to lend a little more belief to what they're saying, a little more credibility, a lot of times they keep the story very simple. They don't say some outrageous stuff like, my mother-in-law's head spun in 360 and spit, vomit out of her mouth. They keep it very simple. They put an object in the middle of the table or in the middle of the counter. They turned around, when they turned back around, the object went flying off the table. And it happened a few times, multiple times. And it's this subtle things that happen here and there that makes them believe that they have a haunting. They keep it very simple. It's like Occam's razor, right? The simple explanation is usually the right one. So they keep it very basic and very simple, and it does make their story seem a little more credible. Some people go overboard talking about, what they've experienced is like, such a crazy story. It's like it's a story for a movie or a book or something. This is not reality. So keeping it simple makes it a little better, but still, it's just a story. I can tell you a story. I can make one up, and you would have to believe me, right? Because if you had one, well, then I'll tell you my ghost story, and my ghost story has to be real, just like yours. I mean, I can just tell you anything I want. I can tell you my pet snake Rufus talks to me, and then I'll claim to you know what? I'll prove it to you. Come over. You come over, and I'll take Rufus out. We'll sit there holding him, and when he don't speak, I'll just say, hey, he's shy around you, and that's it. I mean, it's very simple. Now, again, it's just stories. It's eyewitness accounts. It's anecdotal at best. And just because you experience something doesn't mean what you're experiencing is exactly what it is you think. We do have false memories and all kinds of stuff like that people to this day are still researching it. Okay, now let's move on to the next reason I don't believe in ghosts. Okay, you have all these theories that the experts, the scientists of ghost hunting come out. They have all this scientific equipment. They have these devices, these handheld devices, the EMF detectors, and it lights up whenever there's a ghost, present, and they record. They do the audio recording of ghosts. I forgot what they call that. And they ask questions, and then the ghost supposedly responds, and we're supposed to just believe that this is really happening, and that there's no entertainment value to the show, and they're not trying to pull a fast one over us. We're just supposed to believe it. It's just not believable. So here's some of the theories. Some of the theories is when when a soul passes on, you get me right there, right in the beginning, because we cannot, definitively prove that we have a soul, that we have an energy, what consciousness is. We don't know. Even some of the top experts in the field don't know what consciousness is. Even the scientists, the philosophers, the biologists, the psychologists, the physicists, the chemists, everyone involved in this type of research, they still can't tell us what consciousness is, or if we have a soul or an inner energy. We just don't know. So this is just an idea you're throwing out there. And then they say, oh, well, that soul gets trapped because, maybe because, the person died an unexpected or a violent death. It's like, so that's why we have the ghost. They're stuck here until they can find closure of some sort, which I think it's a little funny, because I grew up in East New York, Brooklyn, one of the worst neighborhoods in the city of New York for the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So with that logic, we should have the ghost of gang members all over the neighborhood. We should have the ghost of thugs and drug dealers and people that were shot and killed and stabbed and beaten to death and ran over by a car and eaten by rats. Right? We should have the soul of all of these people. The projects should be the most haunted place in Brooklyn. All of the projects should be the most haunted place. All throughout the states, no less. South side of Chicago, Compton in California, South Central Los Angeles, and in Baltimore, Philly, all of these places, Detroit, all of these cities with high homicide rates should be the most haunted place in America. And what type of ghost should we see? We should see the ghost of an American wearing a Yankee hat or some shit, right? Or wearing a football jersey or a basketball jersey or something. Wearing something that we wear today. They should have some type of outfit that we wear today. That's the type of ghost we should see. Not a Civil War vet or the white woman in the white dress roaming some lonely highway, or the old slave plantation that the slave souls are not at rest. No, we shouldn't see that. We should see the ghost of people that exist today, but we never do. It's always some period style ghost that we see, and they're always in some decrepit, old, creepy looking home, and they're never in like this beautiful modern building that was just put up, right? Never happens, right? It's always some old, creepy place. I don't believe it. And then with film and footage, it's so easy to fake this stuff that I can't, showing me a video, showing me a picture is just not good enough, because it could easily be faked. And we just have no way of actually proving any of this to be true. There's no scientific means. If you try to use the scientific method, you don't get as far as, you get only as far as experimentation. You can't go any further than that. So you could do your observation, you could do your hypothesis. Now, when you try to do an experiment, you're so limited in the type of experiment you can do that you'll never get to a conclusion. Therefore, you'll never get a theory. So there is no theories behind ghosts. It's all hypothesis, to be honest with you. Now, the next problem I have is that it seems to be all cultural. Okay, hear me out on this. This one might be a little long. I'll try to shorten up the best I can. Now, being of Jewish descent, even though I don't believe in any of that stuff, I don't believe in the religion, but we don't have a culture of ghosts and hauntings and possessions or anything like that. Therefore, we're never the victims of a haunting, right? And I believe the same with Islam too. I don't think Muslims have this concept of ghosts and hauntings. I'm not too sure about that, but I've never seen or heard any stories coming from Muslim people of a haunting. Now, if you look in the Christianity, under the Christian umbrella, you have many, many different sets of Christianity. You have the Catholicism, you have Mormonism, you have Baptist, Protestant. You have so many different types. A lot of them also don't have a culture of haunting, so they don't talk about it. It's just not a big deal. It doesn't exist in their world. They just don't deal with it. But then you have some of them that do, mainly like Catholicism. Catholicism does have a culture of possessions, stigmatas, exorcisms, demons and ghosts and hauntings and all this stuff, evil spirits. Saints, they have all of these, they have that within their culture. Therefore, they tend to experience it more than we do. Now, if you look in America, at least you have let me finish with the cultures and the religion. In a lot of the Spanish countries, you have Santeria, right? So they have this culture of witchcraft and voodoo. I don't know, whatever you want to call Santeria, what paganism. I don't know what it falls under, but when I say witchcraft and voodoo, I mean stuff like Santeria and voodoo and witchcraft and the magic and the occult and stuff like that. They have that culture with them, and they also have a culture of ghosts and hauntings, because it comes with that, and spirits and saints, whatever. It comes with that culture. The same thing with on the Caribbean islands, with Haiti, with Jamaica and all the other Caribbean islands, and in places in Africa. They have that culture. They always had. So even if some of them are, of the Christian faith or Catholicism, stuff like that, but they have a culture before that dealt with that, and a lot of that culture spilled over and stayed with them. For an example, Christmas and Easter were pagan holidays that ended up becoming part of Christianity when Christian came into those areas of Europe and took over. Then they kept some of their old traditions. It stayed with them, and it just transferred into the Christian faith. Now here in America, we don't have this strong. We do have it, but when you look at, let's say, the black community here in America, who they don't really experience much hauntings, right? They don't. Why? And it's probably because when they were brought here as slaves hundreds of years ago, they ended up, the next generation, and the next generation that was born was further and further removed from their African roots. So therefore, they didn't have the African culture, the African religions, and the African their version, because I've learned that Santeria originally, came from Africa, then left and went to other areas. I don't know how true that is. I don't know where it came from, but this is just something that people talk about, people who practice it. So they had their own version of it in Africa, and they still do. But the slaves that were brought here were removed from that. So the next generations that followed didn't practice it. So they didn't have this culture with them. So therefore, they don't really deal with hauntings and stuff like that. And you have a lot of white folks, the same thing. They came here from Europe. They walked away from all that. They brought Christianity with them. They didn't bring, they were, you had the Salem witch trials, right? The hunts. And it was a witch hunt. They were killing people and accusing them of being witches. So they, were removed from that. They didn't believe in that. So they didn't have that, many of them didn't have that in their culture. So a lot of them don't experience stuff like that. Now, a lot of them do, and it's based on their culture, where they come from. If they come from certain geographical locations where the demographic of the people had a culture of the occult, and they end up believing in ghosts and hauntings. Now, for the rest of us that are born and raised in America, far removed from all of that stuff, why would we have it here today? Why would you have some random guy or some random girl who, has no witchcraft background or anything in her family or where she grew up or where she's from, but yet she believes that there's a haunting going on? We have pop culture. Pop culture is probably the number one driver of the occult, right? Pop culture probably invented so much of it. Pop culture probably enhanced it and gave so many ideas to it that probably, might not even existed before pop culture. And pop culture came in and filled in the blanks and expanded it and made it, visually appealing to us, right? That's probably why I like the occult, because the pop culture did such a good job making it, appealing to the eye, aesthetically pleasing, that I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. I like all the imagery and the artistry, and I love Halloween, and I love all the whole thing of the occult. I have books on the occult and stuff. Again, I don't believe in any of it, but it's cool as shit, right? It really is. So pop culture did that. It's almost like the ninjas. Pop culture really invented the ninjas. There was actually a professor, I can't remember his name. He did an academic study into the whole history of ninjas, and it turns out that ninjas really don't appear in Japanese history anyway. It's really pop culture invented the ninja, and then after the fact, it showed up in Japan, and ninjutsu schools opened up and stuff, and they never really existed in history. It's a pretty interesting thing. I think any one of you should really look into. And the same thing with the occult. Now, the occult did exist, and it was there for hundreds, even thousands of years. But a lot of it, today at least, is driven by pop culture. A lot of pop culture really had a big influence in pushing it and changing it and making what it is today. I guess it's the same thing. You say, like, what does Santa Claus have to do with Christmas, right? It's like, well, pop culture and, good old consumerism and stuff like that. Corporations inventing this so they can make money off of it and sell it. That's just what we do. And I feel the same thing with the occult and with ghosts and demons or whatever. I mean, we have movies and shows and magazines and books and stories, and we have all these, these forms of entertainment around ghosts and demons and stuff like that. So there goes your belief in ghosts. So these are just some of the reasons why I don't believe it. So let's go backwards. pop culture inventing a lot of this, and it also coming from cultural stuff that I don't come from. Therefore, I don't believe in ghosts. The theories cannot be supported by any real science. It's just something that someone is just pretty much making up at this point. So science can't provide any factual evidence towards ghosts. And the best evidence that I know of at the moment is just people's personal account, and eyewitness accounts is anecdotal. Is, you don't take their personal account for anything, because you don't know who's telling the truth. You don't know who's lying. You don't know if they think they saw something they didn't. You don't know if they're exaggerating. And you're going to have to pick and choose who you believe and who you don't believe. So those are just some of the reasons that I don't believe in ghosts. Now, if you're watching this video, please feel free to tell me your ghost story. Tell me why you believe. Tell me why you don't believe. Add to the conversation. I think this is a fun conversation. Let's try to keep the insults and name calling and stuff like that. Let's try to leave those out. This video is truly just to have fun, have a good time. I just want to do a video outside of politics for once, and just have like a normal, a normal non-political conversation about something, and share some ideas and what have you. So please like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell, help me grow my channel, and I'll see you in the next video.